this and that, episode 164. Now, for those that are new to the channel, in this type of Skidmark, I share some news snippets that you will most probably not see in the media, in the mainstream media, and many of you would never see anywhere else. And I have that mission with my this and that and what the fuck else and the Afrikaans dit en dat en wat the fuck nog, to bring you new snips that could influence your life, either physically or it can make a difference if you're just aware of it. And that is my mission, to bring facts to you, and you look at it, and you will hear some, I've got some comments about it, but you must just think about it for yourself. Just think about it. Don't just accept everything that is fed to you. And yes, I'm part of the feeding machine, but at least I'm trying my best to make sure you get the healthy food. But let's go. It's Friday and it is Braaiday. Now, if you look at that chicken on the coals, many will say, yeah, it's been burnt. But that's how I like it. And that's how my wife likes it. We like that burn spots on it. And yeah, many people will have different opinions about it, but that is how we like it, and that's how I do it. And that is important in life. You must do the things that you like, because why else are you doing it? If you're doing it to impress other people, or if you're doing it to project an image, you are bound to be disappointed, because it could be a nice dark brown glistening chicken, but I don't like it like that and my wife don't like it like that, so why the hell am I doing it like that? I give the guy some heat, and that's what we like, and that is what we must understand about our lives. But enough of the philosophy. Let's start, and as usual with my, I've changed the format a little bit, and I will always try and start with a little slideshow about stuff in Russia, and I will end the show with a few images for the guys. And one commentator asked me about, how's about something for the girls? And I just simply said, look, I'm a guy, and I've got a good idea what guys like. I'm not a girl. And there's no way that I will be able to select images of men that the girls will like. And it will go against my grain, man. This slide image is Nizhny in Novgorod. Enjoy it. Say what you like, that is impressive architecture, and the photographer did a damn good job. I would have so much fun with my camera if I could be there. But let's go, and let's start off with BRICS. And here is an image of a woman that I have very little respect for. Annalena Dumbuck, but as she has been baptized by Alex, Annalena Dumbuck. This woman is a chick. Her life experience is what? What is her life experience? But she's the Foreign Affairs Minister of Germany, a massive country, a country with a lot of highly skilled and very hard-working people. A country that pulled it out from the ashes of World War II and built it into an industrial monster. And they've got a chick representing them on the world stage. I don't know how these people are thinking. And the Germans are suffering. And their suffering is going to get worse. And they don't need to ask too much or too many questions. Just look at what you guys have in charge of your lives. But enough of that. German Foreign Affairs Minister Annalena Dumbuck took a tough stance against Russia in a Tuesday diplomatic meeting with the Minister Naledi Pandor, saying Vladimir Putin was destroying his own country. Now, that is sweet words from an idiot. She must just go and take a trip through Germany and see how she has destroyed Germany. Focus on her own people. And then she comes here and take a tough stance against Naledi Pandor. Guys, that's like bringing a knife to a gunfight. Dumbuck is not a match for Naledi Pandor. Not a match. Naledi Pandor is not intimidated. Nobody can intimidate her, let alone a little chick from the EU. But be it as it may, this is what we are dealing with. And then we get this, and I include this little snippet here just to emphasize the idiocy in the Western world. Russia just ended Macron's pipe dream of showing up at the upcoming BRICS summit in South Africa. He is not welcome. Now you can stop the thing and read the whole article. Fact of the matter is, in their brains, if they have, how the hell did they think it was a good plan for Macron to be a guest at the BRICS meeting? Macron is one of the big players that is out to destroy Russia. He's part of the cabal that has been destroying lives around the globe with their colonialism and sanctions and shit and suppressing nations. BRICS is the boat that is going to take those disadvantaged nations out onto the sea to harvest for themselves. And this fucker wants his passenger seat on that boat. Common sense would have said to him, listen, I better not go to that party. But no, arrogance instigated this shit. And I have read other articles where they say the actual reason why Macron wants to come to the BRICS meeting is he wants to ambush Putin because Putin refuses to talk to him. But they think they're dealing with idiots. Arrogance. And then we get to the Donbass. Russia planning to blow up Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant has been drafted and approved. Kirill Budanov, chief of Ukraine's military intelligence, warns of a dangerous escalation. Now, I've got one word for Budanov. Fuck off. They are the guys planning these things. They are the guys that blew up that dam. And they blame Russia. Blow up a dam that robs Crimea of fresh water, that puts Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant at risk and cuts electricity supply to a big region, all full of Russians. But Russia does it. Same shit. Russia blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. Stupid idiots say things like that. But for a long time they tried to get that dam, and then they got it, and they blamed Russia. For a long time they're busy trying to create an incident at Zaporizhzhia. The nuclear plant was taken over by the Russians right at the beginning of the conflict. Why? Because the Russians knew that they were planning some stupid shit there. and they prevented it by taking control of that power plant. What else did the Russians do? They shut those nuclear reactors down. Why? Because they don't want that plant in full production and everything going like a Boeing when these idiots manage to heat it critically. But they say Russia wants to blow that thing up. If that thing blows up, millions of Russians will be dead. But the idiotic West expects you to believe this type of shit. Think for yourself. Why would Russia blow up a bloody nuclear plant that's going to kill millions of Russians? Why? And then we get to this. Ukraine admits to persecuting Christian church without legal basis. The Ukrainian government is operating in the Kiev Pask Lavrov without a court decision, stated the Minister of Culture of Ukraine, Alexander Tkachenko. Another fact. What the hell is the story of them taking over Christian churches? But you Western gulpers support that Zazi in Kiev. In the name of democracy, you say. Democracy is a gat, man. That guy, that cokehead sitting there in Kiev, has banned all opposition political parties. He's banned all media that is not in favor of what he is doing. All opposition banned. Where is the EU Human Watch? Where? No. They give that idiot more guns, more money. Money that they are stealing from their own citizens. Yes, they are stealing it. Because if they have a referendum, their citizens will say, no, you're not going to give it to them. So they don't have a referendum because that's democratic. They just give the money to Zelensky and fuck the citizens. Briekmerke said it. Dumbuck was standing in Kiev when she said, I don't care what the voters say. But you voters, you citizens of the EU, you are going to suffer. And you're going to suffer because you allowed those idiots to do it. That's the problem. Now look at this church thing. And then that rabbit Zazi of mine will tell me he's a Christian. But he looks at how Zelensky, man, there's not a better word for it, fucks the Christians up in the country. But he supports Zelensky. Why? Because he's a Zazi. And then we get to that Kramatorsk story. You know, the one where the Western media is trying to tell you that the people killed there were tourists. I did a Skidmark on that. 2 Ukraine generals, 50 officers, 20 mercenaries killed in a precision strike. Russia's precision strike against Ukraine's 56th Motorized Infantry Brigade in Kramatorsk on 27 June eliminated 2 generals, up to 50 officers, as well as 20 foreign mercenaries and military advisors. Think about that. But the media are trying to tell you tourists were killed. And then we get to Mick Wallace, a sense of sanity in the EU Parliament, but nobody listens when he talks. Irish MP Mick Wallace says Zelensky has been silently selling off Ukrainian land to Western companies. The land that Ukrainians fight for. This is just perpetuation of the ruthless empire. Confessions of an Economic Hitman by John Perkins is a very useful reading. Mick Wallace and Claire Daly are incredible in face of a machine of EU-US vassals. This is what Zelensky is doing. He is feeding the cabal. Think about that. And then we get to this one. And this is one for the EU citizens. Germany bleeding foreign investment. Last year, Germany experienced a worrisome decline in its attractiveness for business investment, returning a direct outflow of foreign investment of 125 billion euros. Question is why? Because their industries are no longer competitive, because they decided to reject the cheap Russian gas and are buying that gas at 7 times the price from the US, and they can't get enough. So why would people invest there? Why? Ask yourself. If you are an investor, will you go and invest in a country that is so uncompetitive? No, you won't. Who organized this? Ursula von der Crazy. She did this. And you European citizens, gulping in the shit that the media is feeding you, you are bleeding. And then we get to this. New York becomes sanctuary state for transgender children, will not arrest anyone who performs child sex change surgeries. And she stands there with a smile. You citizens of America, you better take note of this shit. What they're actually saying here is those doctors and surgeons that are mutilating children, cutting their dicks off, cutting their tits off and things like that, they are giving them safe harbor. They are giving them protection. And they're proud of it. And they brag about it. When are you going to wake up, American citizens? When your children are being butchered and you just watch. You will pay for that. And let's lighten the mood. Congratulations to my nephew on his graduation. That's him. Other focus on the left. What inspired this shot? I wonder. Is it that pretty smile? I doubt it. And then we get to NATO. Again. Germany has only about 20,000 artillery shells of NATO caliber 155mm left due to a general shortage and current supply to Ukraine. You can stop and read the whole article. The bottom line is here. They've got 20,000 shells left. Just for interest's sake, that will last exactly half a day in the Donbass. So the other 29.5 days of the month, what will they do? Sit in the trenches and drink beer while they wait for the delivery. They're not going to make it. The Russians are going to pulverize them. The Russians produce 1 million of these shells per month. And then we get to Russia. Vladimir Putin's approval rating jumps to 90% due to the failed armed rebellion. An attempted armed rebellion by Yevgeny Prigozhin, head of Wagner's PMC, has boosted Russia's President Vladimir Putin's approval rating to 90%. Think about that. Think about that. You Western media fed you stories that Putin was falling. Well, if you fall at 90%, I'm not so sure that you understand what falling means. Then there's a little article of sanity. A short but very capacious note today on the pages of the newspaper Il Fatto Quotidiano was published by the Italian professor Alessandro Orsini. He writes, "Why did the ruling class and the Russian people unite around Putin instead of stabbing him to death? One hypothesis, which in science is a tentative explanation awaiting verification, is that perhaps Russians love Putin more than Americans love Biden, and that the Russian military political class is rallied around Putin. Empirical evidence suggests that the Russians turned down a golden opportunity to overthrow Putin because the Russians want a pro-Russian president, not a pro-American. Everything is simple and affordable." Think about that. And then we get to Lavrov. This guy, I like him, and he is so fast with his tongue. A journalist asked him and quoted something that Ursula von der Crazy said about the sanctions packets, and Lavrov's answer, "I am not medically qualified to evaluate that statement. By implication, crazy talk." Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov called relations between Russia and the West a struggle of worlds, since Moscow can no longer rely on agreements, including legally binding ones. Russian President Vladimir Putin has said many times that we are open to cooperation, but as far as our former Western partners are concerned, we cannot rely on agreements with them, including legally binding ones. This is such a struggle of worlds, he said on Channel 1. Take note of that. And then there's idiots that are trying to tell you that they will get a diplomatic solution in Ukraine. The Russians are not going to sit at the table with them. And then this statement from Lavrov. At the Chinese conference, Lavrov quoted the Chinese poet Li Bai. The cries of monkeys do not stop, but the boat has already passed 10,000 mountains. This is how the Russian-Chinese tandem is. In spite of everything, it overcomes obstacles and moves along the path. I am grateful to the Chinese partners for their balanced approach, for understanding the root cause, the long-term deliberate ignorance by the West of our security interests. Now, I've got a message for our local racists. You should now start a hell of a media campaign against Lavrov because he mentioned monkeys in one of his speeches. And then there is this from another voice of sanity and reason in the EU. Sanctions are self-destructive for Europe. Until now, most of the goods entered Europe through intermediaries, but they were already much more expensive, which undermines the competitiveness of Europe. Citizens and businesses are increasingly facing problems in managing their own budget. The EU is slowly sinking into recession and deindustrialization. You can stop it and read the whole article, it's quite interesting. The bottom line is, they are warning, but does that Politburo sitting in Brussels under leadership of Ursula von der Crazy, or the Pirate of Brussels like Alex calls her, do they listen? No, they won't listen because they're the Politburo. Remember that? They're the Politburo. They've got the right to make rules and regulations that fuck your lives up without you voting for it. That's your democracy. I see communism. And then we get to the UK. And listen to this. UK has not found a way to legally confiscate Russia's assets. The UK and other Western countries have not yet found a way to legally confiscate Russian assets in order to use them to rebuild Ukraine. This was stated by Deputy Foreign Minister Liu Docherty. I'm not going to read the rest. Bottom line is, what are they going to do? They can't find a legal way? What they always do, and what they've been done for ages and decades around the globe, they're going to steal it. And then I get to this from Angelo Giuliano. Now this guy lives in China. He's been there, I think, 16 years. I like him, and I like his level-headed reporting. And this is an interesting story that he's telling here on Twitter. My exchange with a Ukrainian acquaintance who fought on Ukrainian side and now a refugee in Switzerland. Him. What do you think about the latest events? Me. Fundamentals haven't changed. The West will fight Russia to the last Ukrainian. Him. Interested about surrogate mothers? And look at Angelo's response with that icon. Ukraine now providing cannon fodder for the West, surrogate mothers for the Western families, cheap land for BlackRock, experimental ground for Western weapons and for training Western military strategy, cheap slave labor for Western corporations, prostitutes for European brothels. Slava stupidity, absurdity. And there are still people that believe that the West cares about Ukraine, a country used by the West, raped and soon to be discarded like a used condom. Take note of his words. Wise words. And then we've got this reported by Masno, and it's that genius wife of that cokehead that told the world on TV that Ukrainian women throws cans of tomatoes at incoming missiles and bring them down. A lot of wounded. Ukraine's First Lady announces the attack on Kramatorsk. Ukraine's First Lady has condemned today's attack. Crowded place evening. Enemy do not want normal life in Ukraine, she said. There are a lot of wounded. It's painful. She also pointed out the attack comes on the anniversary of the shelling of the shopping mall. The attack was one of the single deadliest of the war, killing more than 20 people and injuring 59, and that's the reference to that mall. And we know, I did that in a Skidmark. The Russians blew that fucking mall up because the Ukrainians were parking all the Western weapons in the bloody mall. So don't listen to their bullshit. And she reference to Kramatorsk, and she makes a stupid statement. The enemy do not want normal life in Ukraine. Now I've got some news for this stupid woman. What about the 15,000 people killed in the Donbass by the Ukraine? People killed in supermarkets, in buses, in shopping centers, in hotels, in restaurants, in their gardens, children killed in their beds. What about that? Of course, that doesn't matter, because it was the Russians. And as that senator said so proudly, killing Russians and dying Russians is a good investment. And then we get this, the chief idiot of the West, the supreme commander of the West. Biden says Putin is losing the war in Iraq. Think about that. Don't give me shit about a Freudian slip. He's the chief commander of the West. He should be of sober mind and sane, not a geriatric, mentally retarded man with dementia. And this next shot, I was thinking of not using it, but I have to show you the idiocy that the West tried to feed you. The Mi-8 that was supposedly shot down by Wagner. All props intact, no debris field. Look at that image and ask yourself, does that look like a helicopter that was shot down? Or was it staged there and burned out? Think about it. Look at the left bottom corner of the image. Look at those tracks going in straight to the helicopter. Looks like something ported that wreck in there and then burned it. Think about it. And then we get to South Africa and the chief idiot in charge. He's now the main peanut of the ANC, national spokesperson, or what the fuck, I don't even know what his rank is. The wife of former National Lotteries Commission chief, operating office Philemon Letwaba, has claimed under oath that her company loaned 3 million rand to the then sports minister Fikile Mbalula to help him buy a luxury home in the upmarket suburbs of Bryanston in Johannesburg. Think about that and let it sink in, because that is how they operate. They are having a ball in this world, living in luxury on our money. And the stupid ANC voters keep voting for them. The stupid ANC supporters tolerate this, calling them my leader, bird brain utterances. And then we get to this is the last one in the news snips for the day. Well, the time has come. You were correct. Russia tells South Africa to pick a side in the Ukraine war. The ambassador warns of the secondary sanctions by the West as punishment for SA's non-aligned stance on the conflict. Well, all I can say is Cyril's fence sitting is going to end with a fence post in his arse. And we get to the moment for the guys, men. You can smile. You're up next. And the girls that are sensitive, please close your eyes. Here comes the back page for the guys. Wow, some pretty girls there. I hope this Friday is great, and remember, Friday is Braaiday. And in the description below the video, there are 4 options if you want to support the channel. Please take a look at it, and if you can find it in your heart to give something, I would appreciate that. Have a great day, have a great weekend, and don't forget, you must braai.